Good morning. Do we have a blown speaker? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to A Million Cups. We'll kick it off here at first. Maybe we got a blown speaker? Hold on. Who's here for the first time? Raise your hands. Welcome to A Million Cups. Happy to have you. Who here would consider themselves an entrepreneur? Yeah, that's how we measure success in this room. Before we get started, we've got a couple really exciting presentations, but I just want to shout out some of the people who make A Million Cups what it is and maybe don't get as much credit as they deserve. First, we'll go Andrew and Mikeisha on social media. You guys see us. We're so active on Twitter. A round of applause for them, please. A lot of these guys are doing things behind the scenes, and they're really helpful. And in addition, some of you who got here early noticed that we had a little bit of a coffee logistical issue this morning. And if it weren't for that guy, Joel Carlton, right there, nobody would be drinking coffee this morning. So a huge round of applause for him. And you'll hear this again in the announcements, but to pay it back to you, Joel also runs his own event. It's called Cars and Coffee, and typically it's on the first Saturday of every month in the summer, but he's doing an impromptu Cars and Coffee this Saturday because the weather will be so nice. So you can show up at noon, that's right, at Country Girls Espresso over on East Sunshine. Joel's got a gift for attracting people with amazing supercars. So if you're a fan of those at all, you know where to find him. But before we get too far in, I'd like to introduce our first presenters for the day who came all the way from Kansas City. We've got Matt and Matt with Air Filter on Demand.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for everybody's time. We really do appreciate it. I want to get it started off by introducing to John Reed. John Reed and his wife, Patricia Reed, about 5 years ago decided that they wanted to build out their dream home. So they went through the process, found a local general contractor that had a very good reputation, and went down the journey of building out their home. Unfortunately, their general contractor really didn't meet up to the standards that he had on paper, and ended up leaving gaps within the roof and the windows, which allowed water damage that entered the house and ultimately caused this first floor to completely mold out. So you can see through here. This is the live image. John ended up spending another $10,000 in renovations just to try to deal with all the mold that came through the house. Hoping that everything was fixed, about 3 to 4 months later, they started realizing that John's son, Andy, started showing signs of asthma again. He hasn't had him since he was 6 years old. On top of it, he started having seizures, which Andy has never had in the past. Made everybody very concerned. This ended up them within the ER several times. And not just that, John's wife, Patricia, her eyes were so swollen that it looked like a swarm of bees stung her in the face. You can see her right here. After several doctor visits, they kept getting the same answer. There's just really no clear explanation of what's going on. To top it all off, winter recently hit, and John gave our heating and cooling company a call and said that his furnace isn't adequately heating up their house compared to what it has done historically. So called me up. I went out myself, and I looked through the system. Everything was functioning properly. I did notice that there was a vortex that was happening right during the return air right here. I had a pretty darn good idea what it was. I mean, enough experience, you'll know. So I just asked a question of John. John, how often do you change your filter? And like most clients, he just turned around and said, you know, as often as I can remember. Well, I went ahead and pulled out his filter. It was disgusting. Looked like he hadn't changed it out within the last 5 years. Not just that, I noticed that mold was on the filter, which told me that a lot of these issues that we've been seeing could have been from the system itself blowing the mold. So I investigated it further, and sure enough, mold was throughout the entire return and supply along with the system itself. So what was happening, they were actually blowing the mold out from the heating and cooling system into the house. And every box that you see here within blue could have been avoided if John just regularly changed out his filter. My name is Matt Arankadivi. I'm proud to represent airfilterondemand.com. My partner, Matt Dolly.
And never forget to change your air filter ever again.
Who are we? AirFilterOnDemand.com is a subscription platform that mails our clients custom-sized filters to their home or business across the nation every 1, 2, or 3 months to help remind them to change their filter, ultimately saving them money. No more hassle of driving to the store, remembering your air filter size and MERV rating, hoping they have your unique air filter in stock, or like most people, similar to John, just simply becoming too busy to remember to change out your filter. Our team is composed of Mohammed Orankadi, my father. He's the co-founder of AirFilterOnDemand.com. He has his HVAC Master Mechanical for the last 36 years and is the CEO of Moe's Heating and Cooling for the last 21 years. Matt Dolly, he's COO and co-founder of AirFilterOnDemand.com, along with VP of Operations for Moe's Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing for the last 11 years. Our investor is Beta Blocks. They're Kansas City's top business incubator and accelerator, our investor as well. And then myself, I've been in the heating and cooling industry since I've been in diapers. I'll be 30 years in March, if that gives you any frame of reference. CEO of AirFilterOnDemand.com and VP for Moe's Heating and Cooling for the last 15 years. I want to point this out. So if you look at your electricity consumption for the entire year, okay, you break that down, 50% of your entire electricity consumption at your homes is being consumed simply from your HVAC system alone, okay? So your heating, cooling, doesn't matter. Half of that is going to be devoted to that. Not just that, energy.gov says replacing a dirty clogged air filter with a clean one regularly will lower your HVAC's energy consumption by 15%. So by just having a dirty clogged filter, we create a bottleneck, which forces your system to work harder. And get into the physics, which will take us an hour, and I only have 6 minutes. We can dig in further if you want to afterwards. I want you to take this equation in mind. So take your air filter energy savings, and to calculate that, what you need to do is take your total annual electricity bill, multiply that times 50%, and then take that number times 15%. For my household alone, I'm saving $129.75 per year in electricity because I know that I'm changing out my filter regularly because I'm using AirFilterOnDemand.com service. If not, I'd be spending that for energy consumption or annual electricity loss, if you will. Not just that, my HVAC system is built to last 20 years, and I'm going to get the full life of the 20 years if I go ahead and keep going down this journey of making sure that my filters change regularly, just like the maintenance on your car, changing the oil regularly. If you don't, you'll start seeing deficiencies within 10 to 13 years for a variety of reasons, and I can get into them. They get pretty technical, but I'd be happy to explain. I want to step back. This is Patricia Reed, the lady that had the swollen eyes at the beginning of my presentation. Patricia wrote this. She goes, "We were about to sell our house because we could not breathe in our home. It never crossed our minds that mold could have spread into our ductwork. Thanks to AirFilterOnDemand.com, my family and I have had our first good night of sleep in the last 7 months. My son's seizures have stopped, and my sinuses and puffy eyes have disappeared. We can't thank you guys enough." So with that said, thank you again for all your time. My ask to you is just give us an opportunity. First filter will be on us. Sign up with us. There's no contracts, no commitments. Anybody chooses to go ahead and part ways, no problem. We're still friends at the end of the day. Give me a shot is really what I'm trying to say. Also, call up your friends. Let them know if there's a way to take care of their family more efficiently, take care of their HVAC system, and ultimately save them money. So I will open up to questions from there.
We've been told to replace our air filters every 6 months, but I noticed your schedule said every 1, 2, or 3 months.
Yep.
When I pull mine out after 6 months, it doesn't look dirty at all. Any reason for the 1, 2, or 3 months?
Yeah, so okay. We need to talk a little bit more in depth because you're using a geothermal system from what we
Correct.
talked about initially. So typically how it goes, every 1-inch thickness of your filter, we recommend to change every 30 days. Every 2-inch thickness, we say every 60 days or 2 months. Every 3 through 10-inch thickness, we say you got to change every 30 days or 3 months. You don't go past that. That's our recommendation. You start seeing serious deficiencies once your filter starts looking like this. System starts working harder, and your energy consumption goes through the roof. So your specific situation is going to be a little bit unique. So let's talk about that afterwards. But in general, when you're looking at systems outside of a geothermal system, you're typically going to have to change it. And right now, if you go look at your systems, with the weather as it's been today, you guys' filter is not going to look this bad, but it's definitely going to show signs of dust, particles, what have you, definitely in comparison to that one.
Tell me about the price points.
Yes. So price points, yeah, we're very competitive. So I did a magic quadrant analysis on our prices versus us compared to the subscription players online, the bulk players online, and our standard brick and mortar stores, Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot. Ultimately, when you come into the 1-inch thick filters, we're very competitive. If you want to compare me against the Filtrete, the lower quality filters, no, that's a totally different game. They don't even try to compete on the MERV rating. They know they can't. So no HVAC company will really recommend them. We go high end, MERV 7, 8, 11. Those are where we stick to, okay? If you want to compare us apples to apples, 1-inch thick, we're competitive. 2 through 10-inch thick, I will blow everybody out of the water. And I challenge you, go ahead and look at my competition's price, and then come over and look at mine. And I'll prove it right there.
I have a question over here. Because I admittedly am the worst person in the world for changing filters,
Everybody
honestly. I mean, there's probably dust all over my house from that. So what's the difference between like the 5-inch and 10-inch? I mean, I'm an idiot about this. I'm not even going to pretend like I'm not. So what are the differences in that? I mean, how is it going to make a difference in your health or what you see in your house? Because I know I've got dust everywhere, so I'm assuming the worst.
So really, the thickness just depends on the amount of time that it takes before you should flip it out or change it out. The thicker it is, the more surface area we have to collect the dust, okay, essentially. So that's where our time frame comes. After 90 days or 3 months, that entire area is going to be consumed. I don't care if it's 5 inches or not. So that's why we say that you need to stick within that window of time. I know it's kind of a roundabout answer to you. Does that answer your question, though? Okay.
Hi, we have air filters at the return, and they're specialty sizes,
Yes?
and we try to order them through the company here, and we just get blown off because we're a small
Yeah.
entity. Do y'all do specialty sizes?
Yeah, that's exactly where we
okay.
come in the picture. All of our heating and cooling clients today have unique situations. To find a filter size, just like she just mentioned, it's a hassle. I mean, going to the store hoping they have it in size, usually they don't. It's a unique size, then they definitely won't. Things along those lines. That's where we step in. We eliminate all the hassle, all the legwork. You guys come to us, sign up, and I'll make sure it's at your door whenever you need to change it.
So the subscription model pioneered maybe by the Dollar Shave Club. I imagine there was a bit of inspiration for you guys, and it totally makes sense. What I'm curious about is the back-end logistics. Are you keeping stock of a number of the common air filters and then ordering out the specialty ones, or what does that look like?
You know, there's a variety of ways to look at it. We do have our standard sizes that we know are most typical, and we do keep an inventory on that. Regardless of that, how we've scheduled our partnerships today, I can literally flip out a custom-sized filter within a day still. So it's not going to have any impact on the amount of time it takes to get to your front door from our operational standpoint.
Hi.
Hi.
So I think piggybacking off her question earlier, I think one of the biggest problems is I know in my home, I wouldn't even know where to change the filter or what to open up on my machine. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. I'll be honest, I've never changed mine. So do you guys have like on your website a little how-to or what type of filter you would need just looking at it, going out there, seeing it for the first time?
Yes, ma'am. So on our website, I'll give you a good representation here too. This is your return air, okay? I'm just going to make it simple. This is where your filter is going to be coming in typically. Some clients have, for example, I have a client that his son has leukemia. Air quality is very important at this point. So we do have a filter on the return air, but then we also have it on the supplies. So for example, supplies right here, supply right there, supply right there. We have a filter under those as well. Those are extreme scenarios and would be more complex. But for your residential setting, this is the filter you're typically dealing with. When it comes down to selecting size, quality, and everything, yeah, the measurements, we have it on the website, how to. It's very simple. Not just that, we also break it down. Why should you go MERV 7 versus 8 versus 11? Good, better, best is also how we call it. And that's all broken down based off your specific allergens, how many pets you have in your house, and a variety of other reasons, mold, lead, dust, you name it. And the ledger breaks that down specifically to help guide you on where to go.
You mentioned some testimonials about the correlations between human health and these air filters. And I was wondering if you were doing more widespread research or if you're just kind of relying on some anecdotes of close family and friends right now.
You know, this came up from 1 Million Cups in Kansas City at the Kauffman Center. So I had 3 individuals pull me aside, and one was that individual we talked about just a second ago whose son has leukemia. This was not a business direction I even thought about initially. And even going down this path, I'm not looking as a huge revenue generator. I'm actually looking at how can we generate money that I can donate to the Leukemia Foundation for this specific instance. Just also on top of that, there was a few other people that came in and stopped me at that last meeting on trying to figure out how we can provide for Section 8 housing communities and things along those lines. So we're getting a little bit more tactical and playing different options as they present themselves.
More on the business side of things than the technical side. With air filtration on demand, how long have you been selling the subscription-based model, and how have you expanded your market? How do you market your product, and where have you found that you got the most, made the most strides in your marketing?
Sure. So, you know, honestly, been doing it with the heating and cooling business probably for the last 15 years. But we realized that we needed to actually create this into a brand to help reinforce it. So, been doing it for 15 years. Air Filter On Demand itself has been alive 6 months to date. Okay? To date, we have about 83 clients that have signed up. So we've grown rapidly already. We're doubling each month today. The way we're growing, I mean, 1 Million Cups has obviously been a huge asset for us. SEO has been huge for us. Been very strategic on our partnerships with the other heating and cooling companies, trying to get them on board so that we can alleviate the burden of organizing the filters for them, and they can provide a value-added service to their clients as well. Past that, we've been, I'm trying to think, we've done so many different other things. Nest Labs, Nest Thermostat, are you familiar with it? Yeah, the circular thermostat. Their algorithm does a fantastic job of measuring system runtime. And what it does, will take your historical data. Let's say you go to your thermostat, set it at 72 last week. Now I went back to my thermostat, set it at 72 this week. It's measuring the amount of time it took from my house to actually get to 72 degrees, okay? If there is a lag this week compared to last week, that's telling you that your filter's clogged, okay? So then what it does, it notifies the client that you need to change out your filter. But it stops there. So now we're in discussions on how do we automate that process. Can we make it so that they can order from directly from their phone, tablet, computer, or from the thermostat, or possibly just have it automated to where it's going to order it for them. So really, we're throwing a lot of different options out that we're going after from a marketing perspective.
My sister has a metal one, but it's only about an 1/8 inch thick.
Okay.
And the last time I ordered from Amazon, the company was like 5 weeks late.
Okay.
So how would that work?
Yeah, you know, give me your custom size. Let me go dig into it. I know there's been some specific, unique scenarios like that. Do you have any ballpark on what you even spent on pricing for that? 2 for 19. Yeah, that's much cheaper than I thought it was going to be, because usually those custom ones are much higher. Yeah, no problem. I can get that for you, and I bet I can even beat Amazon's prices if it's that thick of or thin of a media. So let's talk.
Tell me about your experience in a business incubator. Before you went to the incubator, what attracted you to it? And then did that meet your expectations, and what was the biggest value that you took from being there?
Yeah, you know, the incubator was a tremendous help. There was mentorship that came through that we felt that was valuable, and the talent that they were able to bring to the table to help us actually develop the website to the standard that we wanted. You know, you can build just a basic website that's going to give you, you know, an opportunity just to sell a product. But we wanted to be more intuitive and more interactive with the clients to really resolve an issue that's going on today. So ultimately, beta blocks have been a big asset in my opinion, and it was absolutely worth our equity trade that we went that route.
So that was going to be my follow-up question. With the equity trade that you gave, how do you feel that trading that equity in the short term is going to boost your growth in the long term? Do they continue to provide value for you, being the incubator that got your feet off the ground?
Yeah, you know what? It's first to market, right? So they give us the opportunity to get started today rather than hold off, save our cash, and then find the programmer of the caliber that I was looking for to get us up and running. So I feel like essentially they accelerated my business plan by at least 3 to 5 years to be able to get up and running to where we're at today by partnering with them.
wants me to ask another question, but it's always about how bad I am about filters. Okay, I do have a question. What are some of the things that you can expect in your house? Like if you have allergies or if you notice a lot of dust, I mean, how can you tell besides the fact I'm not going to know that my furnace is slowing down because my utility bills are horrid.
Okay.
But how can I look around my house and say, oh, okay, yeah, I got an issue?
Yeah. So, well, it comes into two different seasons, really, and there's several variety. I'm just going to give it high level. So when we're looking at wintertime on our right, okay? So it's cold outside. This is what a clean filter will do. You get solid airflow that goes through your system and goes through. When you get into a dirty filter during the wintertime, some major issues that you see is that the dust that has accumulated throughout your system will end up burning when the furnace kicks on. So you'll smell the smoke, you'll see the dust fly out. That's a big concern that people have. For wintertime, along with what you're doing to the system alone, I mean, you're just putting a lot of damage and wear and tear on your system because it's constantly having to run at the same RPMs that it's already going for today when your filter's clean or dirty, but it's just have to run longer to try to meet the 72-degree mark that you put down. For winter, let's go back over here to summertime. So a lot of implications here as well. So summer kicks in, you turn on your air conditioning. Again, the airflow is going to be restricted, but what's happening here too is this is called your A coil, okay? It sits right on top of your furnace. That is working similar to a cold glass of water, an icy glass of water on a hot day. It starts to sweat, okay? And the air is being blown past it, chilling there, and then forces it out to your house, all right? When the dust starts going through your system, it accumulates dust on top of the coil, right? It can't dissipate the heat properly now. So now, again, your blower's having to work harder. So that's one thing. Not just that, as that dust starts to accumulate and drips off into the pan that's below, you have just a clear PVC pipe. I'm trying to make it very simple, but essentially what will happen is that pipe that goes directly to your drain is going to clog up, and that will cause this to flood. Now you can see it's on top of your actual system here. Once this floods, this will put water all over your furnace and your blower. So severe impacts can come from that. And that's just a high level. There's so many more other things that can happen from not changing out your filter. But did that answer some of what you're asking? Okay.
And actually, I do have a follow-up. I've heard that duct cleaning is supposed to be helpful too, but if you have a good filter and you change it, even if you haven't had your ducts clean, will it help? I mean,
so you're really, and good point. Really, at the end of the day, if you're changing out your filter regularly, you won't have to end up in those shoes. But if you're not, you're going to end up in those shoes. So I'm not saying don't clean out your ducts in that circumstance, but if you change out your filter routinely, you won't have to go down and spend those extra costs in trying to clean your ducts.
I had had some HVAC work done last year. Our blower went out, and the gentleman had recommended to me that we should just buy the cheap, thinner filters. So that's what Lennox and a lot of the manufacturers recommend, is just to buy like a cheaper, thinner filter and then replace it frequently, rather than buying like one of the heavier duty, higher end, like real thicker filters that cost more. I just didn't know what your opinion on that was.
I mean, honestly, my professional opinion is go with the higher MERV rating. Don't go with the Filtrete ones. At the end of the day, can I ask how old your system is?
About 8 years old.
It was 8 years old. There's still plenty of life in it. Yeah, truthfully, I would use the higher rated MERV filters to take care of your system, especially at the age it is, because you can get that to last another 12 years, in my opinion, if you take care of it properly today. I hate to bash on anybody, because I'm sure the individual you brought out is a great resource, but there are certain instances where a technician will come in knowing that by having you go down that direction, they see that there's more incentive financially for them to have your system have deficiencies within this 10 to 13 range. And so you don't get as much education, in my opinion, from specific individuals that are compensated based on the sale. So, but that's 100% where we stand on that, and that's why we built it out this way. We thought about throwing in the Filtrete option at first, and then I just sat back and I said, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm trying to provide a quality service and not just service that's going to send you a filter. This is high quality filters that are coming out to your front door.
What's your long-term goal for the business,
Yes, sir.
and what's your next steps in achieving that long-term goal? Is that selling
Okay.
the business or adding more product lines to facilitate?
Yeah, great point. You know, our family are very hard workers. Acquisition is never really a thought in our mind. So really, at the end of the day, I see us doing it as we do today, making our business successful. Product lines are already coming in. We have several that we're about to add to what we're going to be calling homeowner on demand, and that's going to take over your humidifier filter, your water refrigerator filter, and a few other things that will be necessities that need to be changed routinely within your house. So that is phase 2 that's coming up here probably within the next 3 months. Everything's about ironed out there. But yeah.
So thanks for reminding me to change my filter. Also, I know that a lot of rental homes and a lot of companies who deal with those are really interested in having that change frequently.
Yeah.
Have you talked to any real estate agents about that?
Yeah, and I'm actually starting to gain a lot of traction with that. We went down that journey, and now they are, for commercial real estate, has been a big focus here recently because they have so many facilities, and the cost in those units is, I mean, for this facility, I'm assuming the units on top of this building are roughly $100,000. I mean, we're not talking $10,000 in your guys' house. $100,000 probably per, little less than $100,000 per unit that's sitting on top of this roof. So filters are a big deal to them. So that's why it became a big play. On the residential real estate, they've been exploring that as well. They do see the value. It just the specific people I've talked to that own these homes don't own enough of them, I guess is the best way to put it. So it makes it so I have to have a lot more touch points in order to go down that route. Where the commercial real estate, they own 6 million to 30 million square feet of real estate across the U.S., and it makes it a little bit easier to make that deal go forth, but definitely something we need to consider.
Gentlemen, it's really cool to see an expert in your space identifying a problem and then seeing where you fit, and you are just the perfect salesman for this. There's no doubt about it. We have to wrap up and go to our next presentation, but before we do, we want to ask you, how can we as a community help you?
Yes, and thank you again for everybody, but really what we can ask for is simply giving us this opportunity. Use the promo code 1MillionCups, and the first filter is on us. I swear, there's no commitments, no contracts. Give this a try. I'll tell you this, at the end of the day, I have not had a single client resign yet. No attrition. Everybody that signed up is still with me today, and I call frequently just to make sure that we're providing the service that they wanted initially, and everybody has been extremely satisfied. So I just hope that you give me that chance to do that same for you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Matt. Great presentation. Hey, some quick announcements. Joel and his Cars and Coffee, his older brother, I think, did a nice job of introing Joel on that. Joel's a young guy, too, so he's got a lot of things going on. Real Estate Investors Meeting on February 19th. We got Brad, and Sean was here. Anyway, so if you're interested in learning about how to invest or connecting with other people, please see Brad or Sean after the event here. Also, the Big Data Dance. Is Rihanna in here this morning? I didn't see Rihanna. Anyway, it's at the E-Factory here on March the 17th, $135. Also, they're also doing Building the Ultimate Business Plan. I'm sure there are a lot of people in the room that might need a little help on that. And that's $139. That's on February the 11th and the 12th. Last week, I announced that James Jeffries, who's an attorney with Lathrop & Gage, and Lathrop & Gage is a large legal firm, and they're one of our sponsors here. But James, I don't know where you at. Oh, there he is in the back of the room here. He will be available after the event. If anyone has any legal questions, especially revolving around the entrepreneurship world, he's going to be in the area, the meeting area behind us here. And so please take advantage of that. He's going to be doing this over the next several months, maybe not every week, but every other week or so. So he's going to be a familiar face here. Our next presentation is a refill, and for those of you that are here for the first time, the refill is simply somebody that's presented, say, 6 months, 9 months, a year ago. And by the way, we are coming up on our 1-year anniversary here at the end of February, and we're trying, yeah, yay, we made it. we're going to have a little party, and we're still trying to figure out how we're going to do that. But our next presenter presented about 7 months ago, 6 months ago, I can't remember. There have been some changes in her company, and she's got some nice things going on. So Colleen and her company's she goes by the Date Lady. When she first applied, I was thinking, I don't know about this. But anyway, it's food, so welcome, Colleen.
So let's start off with a little trivia. Can anybody in the room tell me the only 2 states in the United States that can grow a significant amount of dates, or a bag of dates? Exactly. Good job. And I think I asked this last time I was here, but can anybody tell me where the other 97% of dates are grown in the world? What part of the world? Raise your hand, please. I'm looking for a region. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, so actually 2 to 3% of the world's dates are grown in the United States. A lot of people don't know that. Most of them are grown in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Israel, Jordan, the UAE. So I don't know how many of you all were here last time I presented, but I'm going to give a little background just in case. Oh. Okay. I thought I was doing it. Okay. So dates. They're a delicacy in the Middle East. A lot of you all probably have never had a date, or you only had them in your grandma's fruitcake. Or maybe some like really dried, hard dates and breakfast cereal. These are not the kind of dates we sell, FYI. We sell the kind of dates that you might find in a date boutique in the Middle East. They're found in high-dollar boutiques there. Some of them are as much as like $100 a pound, and they're just beautiful. Our primary product that we started out with is date syrup. Date syrup is the nectar of dates. It's been used for thousands of years on the other side of the world. There are lots of ancient books that talk about it. Even the Bible actually uses of honey. If you look into the Hebrew, you'll see that some of those mentions are talking about honey from dates. I don't know why this is not going quite smoothly enough. So what in the world is a date company doing in Missouri? Well, my husband and I moved to the Middle East. He was a teacher at a university, and I had just had my first child, and so basically we just explored while my husband was teaching. When you go to the gym or you go to anybody's house, they'll offer you a date and Arabic coffee, and it's just a huge date culture over there, and we grew really fond of it. So basically, to make a long story short, we kind of became obsessed with the date products while we were over there. I'm not really sure. Okay. I think I'm going to stand over here. So I have a background in advertising and marketing, and we kind of played around with the idea of how can we have enough date syrup so that we can at least feed our family when we move back to the States. And we just started like talking about it more, and we actually got a little bit serious about it. And so we decided to search around for some sources and just see if we could build like a viable business plan. And then we finally got to the test marketing stage, and we decided to go for it. I feel like I'm on candid camera. I promise I'm pushing the right, okay, there it goes. Okay, so this is our product line, our bagged dates, and I put some on the back table for you all to try. Please help yourself. The date syrup, the caramel sauce, and the chocolate spread. All of these things are sweetened only with dates, and we use really clean ingredients. And then this year we've also launched a few other products. Date sugar is our most recent. This is just pure dried crushed dates. We have a balsamic date vinegar that I'm really excited about. We actually use fermented dates, and then we've added some organic balsamic to that to take it in that flavor profile. And then we also added plastic squeeze bottles, which have been a huge success for us. We've been having people ask us for a long time. So our sales channels are mainly wholesale. We sell to places like Mama Jean's here locally, but we also sell to Whole Foods. We sell to Zingerman's, if you all are familiar with that, and various natural food stores around. We also do sell to some markets like Hy-Vee and Harder House and Price Cutter, but that's not really our target because our target market really is in the natural and specialty food right now, and then we plan to expand into more of the mainstream markets. We also sell, of course, on Amazon and Abe's Market, our own website. And then we also sell in bulk, which has been a lot of our bread and butter. We sell in 50-gallon drums. And a lot of like bar manufacturers, you guys are probably familiar with Laura Bar. Her bar is primarily dates. And we have a lot of people using our syrup to replace corn syrup, even brown rice syrup, and agave nectar now. And just to give you an idea, just this past month, we sold 16,000 pounds of date syrup to various companies for an ingredient. So, where are we now? To give you a little update. We just bought a new facility we're really excited about. We moved in, it feels like just yesterday, but it was actually in August. It's equipped with refrigerated storage, which was really important and kind of a hurdle that we were looking to get over. So now we've got plenty of refrigerated storage so we can store our raw product for a longer time frame. We've increased our production capacity by 300%. And by the way, we have an open house this Saturday from 10 to 12. We would love for you all to join us. We'll have tons of samples. We're giving away a year's supply of date syrup, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's 900 West Commercial Street. So last year, we experienced 60% growth over 2013. We think this is good considering that we haven't had any kind of equity financing. We're just doing things as we can. And everything's really been word of mouth. We still don't have a salesperson. Almost all of our sales are based on people calling us and some PR that we've gotten through magazines and such. We were picked up by UNFI, which is the largest natural food distributor in the United States. We are now in Vitamin Cottage and Natural Grocer, which for those of you that don't know, they're kind of the main competition with Whole Foods right now. In fact, Whole Foods is scared of them because their stores keep expanding. We're sold in around 500 stores in the US and Canada. So what do we see in our future? Hopefully we see just large growth. I put here organic and natural food, the future is bright. Here's some examples of some companies that we've seen grow swiftly. A lot of people I think that the natural food industry is kind of boring compared to tech, but actually everybody is headed in this direction. You've seen Walmart, they carry the Wild Oats line now. Here's some examples of some of the smaller food companies that have gone big. Plum Organics, founded in 2007, they were selling $93 million worth of product by 2012. Vita Coco, I won't go over all the details. Edda's Organic Baby Food, Izzy Beverages, Stacy's Pita Chips. You've probably heard of some of these. Evil Foods. These all have been sold for millions of dollars, and they just started like a company like ours. They kind of found a niche and continued to grow. And then some of them got equity investments, a couple of them didn't, and they did really well for themselves. We hope to kind of follow in their footsteps. Our growth goals are really just to increase our distribution in the places that we're at. We actually sell the least amount of our product in the Midwest. We sell mostly on the East and West Coast, and we're just wanting to really concentrate on those markets because we're selling a good amount there, but there's just so much more that we can do. So we're trying to increase awareness in those areas by getting people to do food demonstrations and that type of thing, and get some PR. And so our main goal right now is just to increase the product turn in the regions that we're in. So how can you help? We're looking for people that have contacts in distribution. We'd like to find a distributor for the Midwest. And we're also looking for some contacts in food service. That's one channel that we're not really in so much that we would like to be in. Restaurants, hospitals, schools, airlines, any other channels where natural or specialty foods might be used. And we're also looking for people to invest. So if any of you are interested in talking about that, then please find me afterwards and I can give you my information.
Okay, bravo.
I've got a question. Because I used to have a restaurant and I love dates. I loved them with all my heart and I threw them in everything I could. But I would never tell people I put dates in there because they have a horrible misconception about what they actually are. So what do you think is the biggest myth about dates? Because I think people have some weird thing.
I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a difference between prunes and dates, for one thing. There's actually a huge difference, completely different fruit. And dates have more of like a caramel, luxurious texture where, you know, a prune is a prune. And it's not a fig. Some figs are lovely too, but I think that's part of it. And then also, like I mentioned before, they've only had like dried. The United States hasn't done a great job of marketing their dates. I think back in like the 60s or 70s, they just were like, what are we gonna do with these? And so they started like chopping them and drying them and rolling them in sugar and putting them in cereal. And also, there are so many different date varieties. There are actually over 1,000 cultivars in the world. We only see 2 in the United States, mainly Deglet and Medjool, which are nice dates, but again, they're, you know, processed strangely. And then there's the ones that we sell, which are Barhi and Halawi dates, and they're very uncommon. You don't see them very often, but they're really delicious. And then there's some varieties of dates that aren't that great.
Grown in the U.S. or do you have international suppliers?
We get our package dates from California. They're all California grown. And then our date syrup, we source dates from Tunisia right now. We've also bought them from Israel, but basically we just look at where the supply is at the time.
The bulk, when you're doing 16,000 pounds, are those U.S. dates or?
Those are imported dates. We can't source enough in the U.S. We are working on a California syrup right now, but it will be a much smaller production than the ones that we have produced overseas.
Okay. Based on that, what comes to mind to me is the Ashkenazi chocolate, where Sean has unique relationships with his growers. What's your relationship with growers, and is geopolitical concerns factored into your business growth?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's definitely a concern, and we have talked with our suppliers firsthand. We've met with them. I have never been to. We've gotten them from so many different farms. I've never actually been able to go visit the particular farms. I have visited several farms in the Middle East, but the ones that we're buying from right now, I haven't. However, I have visited with the manager of the farms, and we've talked a lot about, you know, the employees and their conditions and that type of thing. There isn't any kind of like official anything but fair trade, you know, set up as far as with the date growers. But we feel good about who we're buying from and how they treat their employees.
I meant more, you know, is there a threat that a country might be in conflict with the U.S. and there be a break in trade relations?
Yeah, that's definitely always a concern. But there are several different countries, like the United Arab Emirates, that have a huge supply of dates, and we have connections with them. The climate with the United States and the UAE is pretty good right now. Tunisia is just fine. In Israel, I mean, a lot of those countries, although all in the Middle East, aren't necessarily connected as far as the political climate here. Does that answer your question?
So you have a pretty unique story that most Americans don't have about actually living in the Middle East. So how do you tell that story when you're marketing, especially in the Midwest, when dates, you know, like for me, dates, prunes, they're all the same. You know, so like how do you market that and tell that story with your product?
Yeah, well, probably not as much as we should. I mean, on the website, you know, when we sell Abe's Market, I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but it's a pretty big website for people small like us that, you know, make things by hand for the most part. And so we share it wherever we can. Anytime we're, you know, demoing our product, we try to share it. We share it as much as we can, for sure.
I'm not familiar with the flavor from dates, but I have friends who visit Dubai, places like that frequently. Is there a difference in flavor between what you sell versus what they might experience out there? I'm just wondering if I send them Christmas gifts or something like that, are they going to go, well, this isn't the same thing?
Oh, I think it just really varies with opinion, maybe. To be quite honest, the best dates in the world are over there, so they might not be as impressed. I think they would, but it's funny though, because a lot of the royalty over there love to get mid-jewel dates. And I think it's just because they're huge. Because the dates over there are smaller, but I think they taste better. But they might find it interesting.
What level of expansion do you expect to see within the next year or two?
That's a good question. Our sales forecast for this year, we think that we'll grow by between 150 to 200%, and then we think we'll double our revenue the next year as well.
What is the freshness cycle of the dates? How long do they stay fresh?
They're really shelf stable as long as they're airtight. Bedouins used to wander in the desert with them, and they would just survive for months on dates and camel's milk.
What are some of the health benefits of dates?
They have the highest antioxidant level of any other dried fruits. They actually have more magnesium ounce for ounce than a banana, so they're an awesome pre or post-workout fruit. They have iron, magnesium, lots of trace minerals, and so they're just totally nutrient packed. We try not to actually tell people that very often because we want to push the flavor of dates. It's kind of a no-brainer that they're healthy, you know, they're a fruit. But yeah, they have a lot of nutritional benefits for sure.
See, now you say that, but most people they don't know that. They think, oh, it's sweet and delicious, but they don't know that it's good for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we have to push that sometimes.
As an investor, what kind of cash infusion, what kind of return do you expect to see? What do you have in mind in that regard?
Well, right now we have a royalty investment opportunity where you put a certain amount of money in, and then basically we pay back according to our sales, a percentage of our sales per quarter. And your percentage depends on how much you've injected into Date Lady. And so it's kind of a neat program. I mean, we keep in contact quarterly with all of our investors, and those also will be the investors that would have the first opportunity in equity if we decide to go that route.
Has anybody ever tried to ask you to hook them up with a future wife or husband?
Yes, all the time. Happens quite frequently. And I always pretend like I've never been asked that before.
The date sugar? Over here, you had the date sugar up there. How does that
Yeah.
work?
You can use it 1-for-1 with white sugar, and you might have to adapt your recipe a little bit because it's full of fiber. And so, because it has the whole part of the date, so it has all the fiber and everything, so sometimes you might need to increase your liquid a little bit.
So if we come to the open house, you can make a date shake like they do in the Imperial Valley in California?
I wish. We've toyed with the idea of having a summer date shake stand. I don't know if we'll ever do it. But we are serving Cafe Dibs this Saturday, which is our specialty drink made with steamed milk and espresso and date syrup.
May I ask, now who packages your balsamic vinegar and your packaged goods?
We do all of it on Commercial Street. We make chocolate, we make caramel, we do the balsamic. We've been holding the fermented dates for 2 years in our facility, and we're doing all the bottling. The only thing we don't actually make on Commercial Street is the date syrup. We get that in barrels made for us, and then we pump it into jars.
So tell me about the sugar substitutes. You said you had a liquefied as well as a grain, and how
Yeah.
well is that accepted?
The date syrup is our best seller. The thing about date syrup that's different than a lot of things like agave or brown rice syrup is that it has a higher nutritional value, and it also has a really nice standalone flavor profile. So you might not go pour agave on your pancakes, but date syrup on pancakes is awesome.
Do you have to have FDA approval for any of your products, or do your sources kind of have to handle that part of it, or any other regulatory expenses you have to do?
Yeah, there are a lot of them. We have organic certification, so we actually have an organic certifier come through the facility. We also have kosher certification, so we have the rabbi come. You know, sometimes he comes with his blowtorch and like torches down our stainless steel things, and so we have lots of different, and we also do all the HACCP stuff to meet FDA regulations. And then our manufacturer that does the date syrup, they also are up to code and you know, manufacturing. And they have a lot of certifications that are really high level that you don't have to have, but they do have.
Did I hear you correctly that you're positioning the company to sell?
That is our exit. We do have an exit strategy of selling the company when we get to a certain point, but there's always the possibility that, like, if our kids love the business, we would love for them to do it someday.
In follow up to that, you showed some examples of food startups that did recently get bought out. Have you noticed a trigger for those, like a common thread of certain number of sales or revenues, or what have you observed?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of times it's just equity investing, so they'll get a huge chunk of money and they can just really hit the pavement hard with advertising. But there have been a handful of those companies that have just really got lucky with some good press. Somebody will catch on to their product and then they'll just start talking about it, like the Food Babe or, you know, somebody like that, and then it just kind of explodes. But more often than not, it's probably equity financing.
Colleen, what's the dollar amount, the total dollar amount you're looking for?
Right now we would like to raise another $150,000 to $200,000. Yeah. We could meet our sales goals that we have for the next 4 to 5 years at least with no problem. Mm-hmm.
What has been your biggest obstacle up to this point? I mean, getting where you want to go. What is the deal?
Cash flow. Yeah. We have to bring in containers of the date syrup, for example. So that's a large amount of money that we have to pay up front, plus the sea freight and everything. And then we have to wait for all of that to sell to get our cash back, not to mention employees and equipment and all of those things. So really just cash flow is the biggest challenge overall.
Any advice for people thinking about getting into the entrepreneurial space? Any advice that you wish you would have had before you started down this road?
I think, yeah, probably just to make sure that you have investors in place, you know, and that you have a plan for that for the next 5 years. And also just to ask yourself, if I do make this end goal, will all of those years be, actually to rephrase that, I think learning to enjoy life every single day while you're working towards your goals instead of just doing whatever it takes to reach your goal. That's what I would say.
Colleen, you said you don't have any salespeople yet. What's your plan there? You know, when will you get to a point that you can bring on a salesperson?
Well, that's part of what we're trying to raise money for right now. We have, I mean, my husband and me and our office manager, we handle all of the calls that come in and the emails and inquiries, and then if there's just kind of an obvious no-brainer that we need to do, like putting in Whole Foods reviews and that type of thing, we do that. But to actually have a full-time salesperson would be amazing. We just haven't been able to do that yet.
Colleen, I didn't get to see your first presentation, so I'm really impressed. I'm a big fan of dates, so I'm impressed. What can we do as a group to help you get where you need to go?
Yes, again, just anybody with any connections to food service folks or distributors, that type of thing. I'm all ears. I would love to talk to you. And then just anyone interested in investing in a local company, I can tell you more about our plan. If you're interested, just let me know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As always, we appreciate this unbelievable amount of people that show up every week and ask questions. And sometimes I have to ask questions, so I wish you'd ask more. If you know of anybody that you think would benefit from presenting with this group, please let them know and have them get in contact with us. We love to see new businesses, and we're happy to see all of you. So if you will, have a terrific rest of this Wednesday, and we'll see you next week.
I don't know.